What if I told you that just 1 tablespoon of a completely natural food, something you can buy at any grocery store for almost nothing, taken every single morning before breakfast, could begin reversing the fatigue, the brain fog, the sluggish energy, and the afternoon crashes that most men over 50 have been silently accepting as just part of getting older? No prescriptions, no expensive supplements, no complicated routine. Just 1 tablespoon. My name is Dr. Nerita, a board-certified physician with 12 years of experience, helping men over 50 reclaim their energy and their vitality. I have worked with thousands of men who walked into my clinic exhausted and convinced that what they were feeling was simply the unavoidable cost of aging. And again, the same pattern emerged. Not one of them had been told what I am about to share with you today. Stay with me until the very end, because I am going to reveal exactly which 1 tablespoon produces the fastest results and why most doctors never mention it. Subscribe right now and tell me your city in the comments. I read every single one. The tablespoon is raw organic honey, but not the way most men use it. Let me tell you about a patient I will call Robert. 61 years old, a retired police officer who came to me with fatigue so persistent that he had stopped planning anything in the mornings because he simply could not rely on his energy to be there. He was sleeping 7 to 8 hours, but waking up feeling like he had slept 4. His afternoons were almost non-functional. He had been told repeatedly that his blood work was normal for his age, and that fatigue was simply something men in their 60s learned to manage. Robert did not accept that answer, and I am glad he did not. When I looked at his full picture, the pattern was immediately clear. His blood sugar was fluctuating dramatically overnight. His liver glycogen, the stored energy his brain and body draw on during sleep and first thing in the morning, was being depleted too quickly. And his inflammatory markers, while not alarming, were elevated enough to be creating a constant low-level energy drain that no amount of sleep could compensate for. I told Robert to take 1 tablespoon of raw organic honey in warm water every night before bed. He looked at me the way most men look at me when I say something that simple, politely skeptical. He tried it anyway. 3 weeks later, he came back and told me something had shifted. He was waking up differently. Not dramatically transformed, but genuinely rested for the first time in 2 years. His afternoon energy had stabilized. The fog that had been sitting behind his eyes every morning had lifted. Here is the biology behind what happened. Raw honey contains a specific ratio of fructose to glucose that your liver uses overnight to slowly and steadily replenish glycogen stores without triggering the insulin spike that refined sugar causes. When your liver glycogen is adequately maintained through the night, your brain does not send the cortisol alarm signal in the early hours that wakes you slightly, disrupts your deep sleep cycles, and leaves you feeling unrestored in the morning, regardless of how many hours you spent in bed. Robert was not sleeping poorly because he was getting older. He was sleeping poorly because his liver was running out of fuel at 2 in the morning, and his body was pulling him out of deep sleep to fix it. 1 tablespoon of raw honey fixed that. How to use it? 1 tablespoon of raw organic honey. Not processed honey, not flavored honey. Raw and unfiltered. Dissolved in a small glass of warm water. Taken 30 minutes before bed every night. That is the complete instruction. Give it 3 weeks before you judge the result. Before I continue, drop your city in the comments right now. I am Dr. Nerita, and I genuinely read every single one. Now I want to go further, because raw honey taken at night is only the beginning. The same 1 tablespoon used differently in the morning produces an entirely separate and equally powerful result. A patient named Gerald came to me at 64 with a specific problem. His energy was worst in the first 2 hours of the morning. He described it as trying to start a cold engine. Everything was slow, heavy, and resistant until almost 10 in the morning, at which point he would finally feel functional, only to crash again by 3 in the afternoon. This pattern is one I recognize immediately because I have seen it in dozens of men over 50. It is the signature of a cortisol rhythm that has become dysregulated. In healthy men, cortisol rises sharply in the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking, producing the alertness and energy needed to start the day. In men over 50, whose stress load has been chronically high for years, this morning cortisol rise becomes blunted. The engine does not fire cleanly at startup. Gerald began taking 1 tablespoon of raw honey mixed with a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon in warm water first thing every morning before any food or coffee. Within 2 weeks, his morning start had changed completely. He told me the cold engine feeling was gone. He was functional from the moment he got up. Here is why this combination works. Raw honey taken in the morning provides an immediate but sustained glucose supply to the brain without the insulin crash that coffee and refined carbohydrates cause. Cinnamon contains compounds called cinnamaldehyde and chromium that improve insulin sensitivity in your cells, meaning your body uses that glucose more efficiently, rather than storing it as fat or letting it spike and crash your blood sugar. The combination produces a steady, clean morning energy that men over 50 who have been running on caffeine for years describe as feeling completely different from anything a cup of coffee ever produced. How to use it: 1 tablespoon raw organic honey, quarter teaspoon of genuine Ceylon cinnamon, dissolved in warm water every morning before breakfast and before coffee. Do not skip the Ceylon distinction. Cassia cinnamon, which is what most supermarkets sell in generic cinnamon jars, contains high levels of coumarin that can stress the liver over time. Ceylon cinnamon, available at any health food store, is the form with both the therapeutic benefit and the safety profile for daily use. Now here is the combination I promised you that produces faster results than either ingredient alone. Raw honey at night before bed, combined with raw honey and Ceylon cinnamon, first thing in the morning creates a complete 24-hour energy stabilization cycle. The night dose maintains your liver glycogen through your sleep, so your body does not trigger cortisol alarms in the early hours. The morning dose gives your brain and body a clean, steady fuel source to start the day with a cortisol rhythm that fires properly instead of sputtering. I have had patients use this combination for 30 days and come back to me describing changes in their energy, their sleep quality, their mental clarity, and their general sense of vitality that they had stopped expecting to feel at their age. One of them, a 67-year-old former teacher named William, told me at his follow-up that his wife had asked him what I had changed in his medication. He told her I had not changed his medication. I had changed his breakfast. That is what 1 tablespoon can do when you understand what your body is actually asking for, and you give it consistently. Start tonight. 1 tablespoon before bed. Tomorrow morning, 1 tablespoon with cinnamon before your first coffee. Give it 30 days. Track your sleep, your morning energy, and your afternoon function each week. Your body will tell you everything you need to know. If this video gave you something useful today, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with a man over 50 who has been told his fatigue is just part of getting older. Tell me in the comments whether you are starting with the night dose or the morning dose first. I read every single one. And I will see you in the next video. And I want to address something that most men never say out loud, but that I hear between the lines in almost every appointment I have with men in this age group. The fatigue is not just physical. When a man's energy is consistently low, when he cannot rely on his body to show up the way it used to, something quieter begins to happen. He starts pulling back. He stops making plans. He declines invitations he would have accepted without thinking 2 years ago. He tells himself he is just being realistic about his energy levels. But what is actually happening is that low energy is slowly shrinking his world, one small withdrawal at a time. And he is so tired that he does not have the capacity to notice it happening. I have watched this pattern in my clinic more times than I can count. And I have watched it reverse just as consistently when the underlying energy problem is addressed at its actual source, rather than managed with caffeine and willpower. The men who come back to me after 30 days of this protocol do not just tell me they feel less tired. They tell me they are doing things again, showing up again. That is what restored energy actually looks like in a man's life.